Welcome to Mary Potter Podcast.
Yeah.
Our magical probe this week takes us into a couple of really wild stories from the wizarding world of flash fiction.
Mm.
We'll be looking at the limits of magic and some characters who will go to crazy lengths for, well, for their kingdoms and for the people they love.
Yeah, it's always fascinating to see how these flash fiction stories, they take these classic fantasy tropes like magic kingdoms and epic battles, and then they kind of zoom in on the emotional side, like what these characters are going through as they're facing these incredible challenges.
Totally. And our first magical probe today lands us right in a kingdom that's, well, let's just say it's on the verge of being completely wiped out.
Oh, wow.
This flash fiction story is called The Abjurer's Quest. And we meet this young Abjurer named Elsa. She's got this huge responsibility. She's got to create a shield that's strong enough to hold back the Black Banner army.
Oh, boy.
And we're not talking about some little protective charm here.
Yeah.
This is a full-on kingdom-sized defense. I mean, can you imagine the pressure she must be under?
Just the sheer scale of it is mind-boggling. I mean, creating a shield for an entire kingdom, that's practically unheard of in, traditional abjuration magic. It really sets the stakes high right from the start. It makes you wonder, like, how is that even possible, given what we know about magic in this world?
Exactly. And it's not just the external threat, right? Elsa's also got this massive internal challenge to deal with. See, the different schools of magic in her kingdom, they don't exactly get along.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the sources we've got, they talk about this deep-seated animosity between the fire mages, the earth mages, the illusionists, and the stormcallers. They've got this history of, well, let's just say they haven't been sending each other birthday cards.
I see.
So Elsa, she's an abjurer, right? She's all about repelling and negating magic. But to save her kingdom, she's got to figure out how to bring these totally different magical disciplines together. It's like trying to get a bunch of musicians who've never even met to play a symphony together, and if they mess up, everyone's doomed.
That's a pretty intense analogy.
It is, right. And that internal conflict, it adds a whole other layer of complexity to the story.
Yeah.
It's not just about brute magical strength. It's about diplomacy, understanding, finding some kind of common ground when, well, it seems like there isn't any.
Yeah, and I bet those historical rivalries probably run really deep. I mean, you're talking about fundamental differences in how each school sees magic and how they use it. That's going to make Elsa's job even tougher.
Oh, for sure. So let's look at her first alliance. She goes to the fire mages, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in their scorching caldera, and let me tell you, they are not impressed.
I can imagine.
The elder fire mage, he's like, your little shields can't even handle a stiff wind. Why should we even bother helping you?
Yeah.
Talk about a tough crowd.
Oof. Yeah, they don't seem too eager to cooperate.
But then Elsa does something really clever. She reframes the whole concept of containment. She says, look, containment is just another form of control. And she suggests that they could redirect their firepower into her shield, making it way more powerful.
Huh. That's actually a pretty smart tactic. Instead of trying to convince them to, completely change their whole philosophy about magic, she's speaking their language.
Exactly.
By framing containment as control, which is something they totally get with their fire magic, she finds a way to connect with them.
Totally. And then she goes to the stormcallers, up in their wind-battered tower.
Oh, man, they must be something else.
And the head stormcaller, he pretty much laughs in her face. He's like, rigid shields against our storms. You're kidding, right?
I bet their storms are something fierce.
But Elsa, she doesn't back down.
Yeah.
This time, she proposes a shield that's not static, but dynamic. A shield that can actually incorporate their storms, use them to strike back. It's a pretty radical departure from, traditional shield magic.
For sure. It sounds like she's got a knack for thinking outside the box, or in this case, outside the shield. I mean, she realizes that a regular shield just isn't going to cut it against the raw power of a storm.
Exactly. And so they all start working together, but it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
I bet not.
The sources describe this intense collaborative process. There are arguments, failed experiments, but then there are these moments of pure brilliance when they finally figure something out.
I bet those breakthroughs must feel amazing, especially after all the frustration.
Oh, totally. And what's so cool is that Elsa, who starts out as this, very by-the-book abjurer, she learns to appreciate and even use the chaotic energy of fire, the fluid nature of illusion. Because, she must have gone to the illusionists too, even if our sources don't go into detail about that, and the grounded essence of earth magic.
It really shows you how a crisis can push people to grow, to go beyond what they thought they were capable of.
Absolutely. And then The moment of truth arrives. The Black Banner army, they reach the border, and Elsa unveils the shield. It's described as imperfect but shimmering.
I like that description. Imperfect but shimmering.
Me too.
It suggests that even though it wasn't, totally smooth sailing, the combined power of these different schools of magic, it created something truly remarkable, something strong.
I agree.
And I think it's significant that Elsa feels that collective power. It's not just her magic anymore, it's everyone's. And that unity, it creates something even greater than they could have achieved on their own.
It's a real testament to the power of collaboration, right?
Absolutely.
So the battle begins, but it's not a quick victory. It's this long, drawn-out war of attrition. The Black Banner mages, they're used to just crushing magical defenses, but this shield, it's different. It seems to mirror their own destructive energy, pushing back at them with their own power.
That's so interesting. So it's not just blocking their attacks, it's actually fighting back.
Exactly. And then something totally unexpected happens. The Black Banner army surrenders.
Wow, really? I didn't see that coming.
Their leader, he admits they can't break through the shield. And get this, he suggests working together to keep it going, like their magic might actually be compatible after all.
It's a huge shift, right?
It is. It kind of makes you think, like, what led to that change of heart? Maybe they finally realized how strong the shield is. Or maybe they're just tired of fighting. It's a good point. The story ends with Elsa standing on the battlefield. It's quiet now, and the shield is just thrumming with power. It's this symbol of both defiance and, surprisingly, surrender.
It's a powerful image. It kind of leaves you wondering about the future, Can peace really last?
Yeah.
And what will happen to this new kind of magic that they've created together?
It really makes you think. And now, for our second magical probe, we're going to dive into a story that's a lot more personal, a lot more emotional. It's called The Necromancer's Heart, and it explores the intense and often forbidden connection between love and death.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
We meet Sadie, a young woman who lives in a village right on the edge of the Shadow Mountains. Now, Sadie's always been afraid of necromancy, but when her beloved Ben is seemingly killed in an avalanche, she turns to the very magic she's always dreaded.
It's like the classic setup for a story about forbidden love and dangerous magic. And the setting near the Shadow Mountains, that just adds to the atmosphere of mystery and danger.
It totally does. And the sources we've got, they make it clear that Ben isn't dead in the usual sense. His body's been preserved by the cold, but his life force, his spark, it's gone.
So there's still a chance, maybe?
That's what Sadie clings to. The healers, they offer their condolences, but Sadie refuses to give up. She's driven by this unwavering love for Ben, and she's not just fighting grief, she's challenging the natural order of life and death.
That's some serious dedication. It makes you think about how far someone would go for the person they love.
Doesn't it? So we see Sadie's first attempts at necromancy. They're hesitant, almost desperate. The sources describe this stark contrast between her weak whispers and the immense power that necromancy requires.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just wishing really hard.
Right. But then there's this turning point. She hears Ben gasp. Just this faint sign that a tiny spark of life still remains.
Oh, wow. Talk about a mix of emotions, right? Hope, fear, probably a little bit of terror, too.
Definitely. That gasp, it fuels her determination, but it also shows her how urgent the situation is. And the sources emphasize that necromancy in this world isn't about creating life, but about forcing a soul back from wherever it goes after death.
That's a pretty disturbing thought. It's like you're not just playing with magic, you're messing with the fundamental forces of life and death.
Exactly. And so Sadie dives deeper into this forbidden world. She studies these ancient texts, and it takes a toll on her, physically and emotionally. And to make matters worse, the villagers, they start to get suspicious, even scared of her.
I bet they do. Necromancy is usually not seen in a positive light.
Right. It's like this taboo, and Sadie's breaking it. And you see how your love for Ben, it becomes this consuming force. The sources even call it a wild, destructive magic of its own.
That's a powerful way to put it. It's like her love is so intense that it becomes dangerous in its own right.
It really is. And then we get to the climax. Sadie performs this final, desperate ritual. It's a huge gamble. And it doesn't just require magical energy. It requires a part of herself.
Oh, wow. She's literally putting herself on the line.
She is. And the sources highlight that she's focusing on Ben's living essence. His laughter, his warmth, not just his cold, lifeless body.
Mm-hmm.
And the spell, it's so powerful that it drains her instantly. But it works.
It's interesting that she focuses on his living essence, on the things that made him who he was, rather than just trying to revive his physical form. It's like she understands that true life is about more than just a beating heart.
That's a really good point. So Ben comes back to life. The sources describe his confusion at first, and then this slow return of warmth to his eyes. But Sadie, she collapses from the strain. She knows she's broken a fundamental law, and she knows there will be consequences.
It's a bittersweet victory, for sure. She got what she wanted, but at a huge cost.
Exactly. And then there's this incredibly poignant moment. Ben's hand, it's weak, but it's warm, and he reaches out and finds Sadie's hand. And he asks, but how? Just the simple question, but it speaks volumes.
It's such a human moment, even in the midst of all this magic and mystery. He's back, but he's lost, and you can feel the weight of everything that's happened.
It's so well done. And the story ends with this bittersweet truth.
Yeah.
Their future is uncertain. It's a borrowed flicker of time.
It's a reminder that there are always consequences, even for the most well-intentioned actions.
It is. And it leaves you thinking about the power of love, but also the potential dangers of tampering with forces we might not fully understand.
Definitely food for thought.
It really is. So in these two flash fiction stories that we've explored today, we've seen some incredible examples of resilience, of the power of connection, even when the odds seem stacked against our characters.
I think it's interesting how different the two stories are, you know?
It is.
In the Abjurer's quest, it's all about unity, collaboration, working together for the good of the whole kingdom. But then in the Necromancer's Heart, it's this intensely personal story about love and loss, and the lengths one person will go to defy fate itself.
Yeah, they're totally different, but they both show how characters can be pushed to their limits and how they can achieve amazing things when they challenge their own beliefs and, break down barriers.
They also make you think about the nature of magic itself. It's not just about spells and rituals. It's about understanding, about connecting with something larger than yourself.
Absolutely. And it's about the choices we make and the consequences that follow.
It makes you wonder, what limitations do we put on ourselves? And what would we be capable of if we dared to push past those boundaries?
Exactly. And that's something for all of us to think about, right? What are we holding ourselves back from? And what are we willing to fight for?
Those are some pretty big questions.
They are. But sometimes exploring these fantastical worlds can help us answer those questions in our own lives.
I agree. It's like a mirror, reflecting back on our own desires and fears.
I like that. So we encourage you to keep exploring these themes. Think about other stories where divided factions have to unite for a common cause. And consider the ethics of love and loss, and how far we're willing to go for those we care about.
These are questions that have been around for centuries, but it's always good to revisit them, to see them from new angles.
For sure. And who knows, maybe we'll find some answers in the most unexpected places.
That's the beauty of storytelling, isn't it?
It is. So thank you for joining us on this magical probe here at Mary Totter Podcast. Don't forget to rate and follow the show for more captivating tales from the wizarding world of flash fiction. Until our next magical probe, keep exploring the extraordinary, even in the most ordinary things.
And may your magic be ever bright.
See you next time.